Now we welcome in Abby Schnable of the Loyola Phoenix, the student newspaper at the Loyola Chicago University, into the minor lounge. Abby, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm on a high. March Madness has me working like crazy, but wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're a sports editor at the student newspaper, so you're covering the games in Indianapolis. Kind of driving back and forth. You got another trip up ahead up ahead for you. So what are you looking forward to for this Sweet 16 round?
I'm excited to get to be back in the arena. With COVID and everything, you don't know like what's gonna happen with credentials. Like there's always a chance that you're not gonna be able to go. And so I'm first of all excited to just be back and get to watch the game live again. And I know this is awful, but I haven't really like delved into a lot of Oregon State's basketball yet, simply because it's been so like go, go, go since I got back from Indy on Sunday night. And I've been working on so many things trying to catch up on school. But I think it's going to be a great matchup. And like, hopefully there's an Elite Eight game that's played. And I'm just really excited to get to hang out in Indy again. Like, and not only have Loyola's game to watch, I won't be in the building for the other ones, but I'm just a March Madness fan in general. So being around there is like, it's just, I'm on cloud nine.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're a senior journalism major, correct? Were you there then for their run to the Final Four a few years ago? Would that be your freshman year?
Yeah, so I was a freshman when that happened. I was a writer, but I wasn't an editor yet, so I didn't get to go to any of the March Madness games. But I was like not formally in charge of like the on-campus excitement stuff, but I kind of dubbed myself in charge because like our editors were like, someone cover it, and it was always me, because I wanted to. And so like all of the like fan rallies, like whenever there were watch parties, I would be like there kind of like live tweeting it. Like a bunch of the videos in 2018 that like made their way onto ESPN or other TV stations of like the fans reacting, some of those are mine, which was super cool.
Oh,
I was around. I was a total fan back then, less of a reporter, but I still had a great time. And it's kind of cool seeing like how it's a full circle for me too. Everyone says full circle for like the guys Cameron and Lucas, and I'm just like, it's full circle for me because like I was a baby freshman writer, just kind of like, this is so cool, and now I'm like working and covering the games.
yeah. So that's awesome, and it is that full circle sensation, I'm sure. And I think I was at the Final Four in 2018 in San Antonio, definitely pulling hard for the Ramblers. 'Cause I lived there at the time, and what was the some of the key differences, because obviously no COVID back then, and now COVID and everything's like very strict, not major watch parties, or at least not advised to be major watch parties. What's the major difference between, from looking back, what you remember that Final Four run, and now, this year is, they won a couple of games, and now, maybe thinking Final Four again if they can get there.
Yeah, it's completely different. Like genuinely, like until you're in the moment. Like once you're in the moment, you kind of just feel like you're watching like a regular basketball game. And I've been saying like all year that basketball's been one of my like normal things about my life, because like even though I'm wearing a mask and I have to get I have to like prove that I don't have COVID symptoms or whatever it may be, like it's still so normal for me to just be sitting in an arena and covering a game. And so I've like reveled in that feeling, but it's very different because I mean, I'm used to, I became assistant sports editor the year after the Final Four, which is when Loyola fans really like hit their peak. And so I'm used to being like pretty much deaf in one ear while covering a game. So the quietness is weird. At Gentile Arena, we didn't have fans all season. And
Yeah.
so like I haven't had fans until Arch Madness, and then now March Madness, there's fans and they're so loud and it's so great because you feel even more normal. But you definitely notice that like it's not quite the same. It's not like a bunch of students in the student section like screaming their heads off. It's a little more subdued, but it's still like gets you that normal kind of feel. But I think the biggest difference is on campus. Like, you don't have those big watch parties in Damon or those rallies of the guys coming back. I mean, Porter even talked about that on his press conference this morning, is like he wishes he could go back and like have those little rallies they would have when they got their police escort from the airport coming back onto campus. We don't have that. Unfortunately, there were a lot of Loyola fans that were unsafe this past weekend, and like kind of after the Illinois win, like kind of flocked to the streets and weren't being very safe. I'm very grateful I wasn't on campus to have to cover that, because that would be a little out of my comfort zone. But they're finding ways to celebrate. And I think, I mean, I don't condone flocking to the streets without a mask on, but like going to social media, tweeting, all the TikToks about Cameron Krutwig going around are hilarious to me. And so it's weird, but there's also a sense of normalcy to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would agree with you. It's very weird, surreal when, you're covering a game and you're like, man, this should be packed. It should be, the roof should be being blown off, right? And it's just not quite the same. So it's very, very interesting, but yet here they are. So how was your first weekend experience in Indianapolis with the fact that all the teams were there, many different arenas? I don't know where you stayed, or, could you walk to Lucas Oil or wherever? What was your experience like that first weekend?
So I could actually see Lucas Oil outside of my hotel window, which was pretty cool. I don't remember the hotel I stayed at specifically. I'm staying in a different one this upcoming weekend. But it was nice. Like, it was nice to just get to go and like I walked around a little bit on my off day, I keep calling it. And like it was different because I'm used to from Chicago, where like COVID is pretty well enforced. People are wearing masks. And I don't know if Indiana doesn't have a mask mandate or what it is, but like crowds were happening. People weren't wearing masks. There's like not a lot of social distancing. So like it was kind of cool to see like everyone be excited about basketball, but me being very COVID conscious and a little nervous about everything. Like, I'm vaccinated and I'm still nervous. And so I was like keeping my space. But genuinely being in the arenas was like honestly a surreal experience. I said earlier that I'm just a big March Madness fan. I mean, my mom and I and my dad, my whole family have been like super invested in March Madness. My family are big Mizzou fans. So not the best success recently, but like we used to crowd around, do bracket challenges. And so like it's always been a bucket list item of mine to like go to March Madness one day. And then when I started to take the journalism route, I was like, man, this would be so cool. Like, the 2018 run is one of the huge reasons why I decided to switch my major to go into journalism anyway. And so when that happened, and now it's just like I'm there, I'm sitting in a press spot, like watching the game. It's surreal to me because I can't believe I was in that position. I can't believe I get to do it again this weekend. I was at Hinkle Fieldhouse, which honestly might be one of my favorite arenas I've ever like gone to. It was a blast. Like, the atmosphere with the Georgia Tech fans versus the Loyola fans was awesome. And because it's like a little bit of it's a little smaller of an arena, not very small, but it's like you get kind of that like that tight feel, which I loved because it was so cool hearing the fans like battle back and forth. And then Bankers Life Fieldhouse was great too. I wasn't as close to the court in Bankers Life Fieldhouse, but that's where the Pacers play, so that was super cool. Right. My little brother's a huge NBA fan, and so like he was like, "You're at the Pacers arena," and I was like, "I am," and he's like, "That's cool. I'm kind of jealous." And when my 60-year-old brother is telling me I'm cool, like I have to revel in that a little bit because usually it's the opposite. But no, I had a great time. Didn't get to do a lot of exploring, which par for the course when you're working all weekend, but I'm excited. I'm hoping I get a whole weekend this weekend and maybe another.
Right. Yeah, sure. And, knock on wood, fingers crossed type thing. So that's right. So it was Hinkle and then Bankers Life, and Hinkle was awesome. I was very fortunate to cover Baylor, Wisconsin at Hinkle for the second round game. I covered both of the Baylor games this past weekend, and I won't be going back to Indiana. So definitely very fortunate that you get to go, again and cover the teams because they are very strict with the media credentials. But again, I was, back to Hinkle, very fortunate to be there, and I thought it was a great stadium, great venue, just great atmosphere, and it was very confined, just awesome. At the Pacers arena, were you in the press spot, like maybe the suite level? Is that where the press was?
Yeah, so I can't remember what its exact name was, but it's definitely like one of those like I think not the green seats like if you're at a baseball stadium, but like one of like the VIP suites.
Okay.
So we were sitting in those, not like a typical like media seating. And so yeah, we weren't like super high up. We were probably like right about the middle.
Yeah.
My seat was great. Like I say I wasn't as close to the arena. My seat was still amazing. I cannot complain. But yeah, we were about in the middle. The hardest thing for me though is that we were like on the Illinois side, and so like all the cheers I could hear were only Illinois because I was so like flooded with Illinois, and I love like hearing the Rambler cheers because I mean I've covered the team for so long that like it's just kind of cool like seeing how much the fans get into it, and so I would have to be like focusing very hard to try and hear the Rambler fans. They were loud, but those Illinois fans, like, holy cow.
Yeah. So that's crazy, and that was an intense game. Obviously, 1v8. What was that? What was that intensity like? Being in the building and just the momentum build. Because I think pretty sure you guys led throughout the game from home start to finish, if I remember correctly. But
yeah, so I came in and I've watched so many games of this team and I know that they're good. It's not that I'm underestimating them and I need to put that out there, but I came in and I was like, Illinois is arguably the best team in the nation. I don't see how Loyola wins this one. And like, I know how good Loyola is and I just couldn't wrap my head around like them beating Illinois. And so I came in expecting like this game to go south like pretty quickly. And then when like it was just like you said, it was high intensity. It felt like they were going bucket for bucket, but because Loyola got on a little bit of a lead at the beginning, they were always ahead.
yes.
There was only one time they were tied and the score was 2-2. And that's the only time they were tied the whole game. And so yeah, Loyola led the whole time, which was shocking to me coming in like thinking there's no way Loyola wins, but it was just insane to watch. Like, I mean, I know how good Loyola's defense is. And I knew that they would give Illinois a little bit of a struggle, like especially shutting down Io and Kofi, but I didn't think they would shut down Io. Like, I knew they would give him a run for his money, but holding him to 9 points was huge. Right. I remember when Lucas Williamson got into a little bit of foul trouble about the 13-minute mark in the second half, and I was like, oh, here's where Illinois gets it. Still, Loyola was able to hold on. Yeah. And it was so fun, like getting to watch and like hearing the Illinois fans get very disgruntled was hilarious to me. But I'm from Loyola, so you have a little homeschool pride, even though I'm a reporter, so I'm a little bit unbiased, but I've been covering this team. I want to see them do well. Sure. And so it was so much fun. Like, honestly, one of the most fun games like I've ever covered. And I hope like this upcoming weekend, like those games are just as fun as that one, because I will remember that probably for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Was there a specific point in the game? You mentioned like, oh, this point, like Illinois might make one final push or whatever. Was there a point in the game where it was like, all right, they just made this play, like we have the magic, like this could go in our favor type thing? Was there any point where you're like, wow, we might actually pull this off?
So I can't remember a specific moment, but I remember like thinking at half when Loyola was up by 9, I think it might have been 7. It was 7 or 9. And I was like, they're up by like a sizable margin. Like 9 points you can come back from, but it's also like you're enough distanced. And so I was thinking, like, I remember sitting in there at halftime, like, oh my God, they could totally do this. And then I'm one of those people who I will not write my lead for a story until I know like the ending, because I don't want to jinx it either way. And so like my co-editor and my editor-in-chief are like on the dock, like Loyola wins and there's 3 minutes left. And I'm like, no, we can't write that. I remember like knowing that it was sealed when it was like 1 minute and 30. And I remember a minute and 30 specifically because everyone was like at the 3-minute mark, like I said, was saying like Loyola's got it. And I'm like, no. It was never like a huge lead. Like it was always like a margin that they could come back from if they could get the momentum. Illinois just couldn't get the momentum. And so I was on the edge. I was like, they could still do this. I don't like this. And then it was when they kept getting the free throws and they kept hitting the free throws. I was like, okay, this game's over.
It's over. Yeah. I think, wasn't there a play in the first half where I don't know, there was a pass maybe going out of bounds and he had to jump for the pass, and then like midair he just tapped it back to Cameron, and he made the little like shot in the middle of the paint. Was that?
Yes. No, that's one of the plays. I was thinking you were going a different route because there were I do remember that one. I was thinking of the there was twice Cameron Krutwig saved either like grabbed a 50-50 rebound by just tapping it. We call it the volleyball hit. Or like it was going out of bounds. But like what's so interesting to me about Cameron Krutwig is that like he is able to direct those hits. Like most people when they're trying to save the ball from going out of bounds or like trying to get a rebound and just tap it in favor, it just kind of goes loose. Yeah. Cameron Krutwig was like, Lucas is over there, Braden's over there. And that's what I love. Like I love how like his brain works, and I love seeing how intelligent he is. The whole team, genuinely. My favorite play of the whole weekend, the whole weekend, definitely the game. Keith Clemens had a fast break, and he was going, and he knew Io was right on his tail. So he stopped on the block, on the post, sorry, and he stopped, ducked down so that Io could jump over him and then hit the shot.
Yes, that was such an unbelievable play, for sure. I remember that.
I was just like, it will go into my mind as one of my favorite plays over like my history, alongside Tate Hall knocking over the 2 Drake guys like bowling pins in the MVC final. So I was just like, they're just so smart, and I can't get over that.
Yeah. Well, they beat the ACC champs, and then they beat the Big Ten champs, and now you're facing the Pac-12 champs, right? So that's definitely an interesting angle. Just another great March Madness story. So that should be interesting. You say you haven't dived in or maybe done too much research on them, but they beat Oregon State. Loyola beats Oregon State and wins the Elite Eight to advance to the Final Four if they can do what this weekend?
So I think I've been saying this like the whole time, if they can play like they played in the MVC semifinal against Indiana State, in which for like genuinely for the first time, like consistently, multiple guys were scoring in double digits. I've been saying this whole time that Loyola's defense is solid, but their offense can be hit or miss. Ever since that semifinal game, though, it's been hit. So, like, if they can keep that up and they can get guys in double digits and play their game, like, and I know that's super cliche to say, but, like, one of my favorite things about Loyola is that, like, they play their way no matter what. Like, yes, they conform to a team, but they're not going to change their style to try and beat a different team, because their style is so just like mesh. It's so mendable. And like the biggest example I think of that is like I truly believe the only reason that they didn't beat Michigan in the Final Four in 2018 is because they let Michigan move around their game, and Michigan like they stopped playing their game. Loyola stopped playing their game, and that's why they lost. So if they can keep their game, keep passing, they've proven that they don't need Cameron Krutwig to win in other games. It hasn't had to have happened in the tournament yet, but like in Arch Madness, they're so hard because it's Arch Madness and March Madness, and they're right after each other. He got shut down left and right. The MVC has Cameron Krutwig, like, we know how to knock him, we know how to stop him, but like then Lucas Williamson posts double digits, or Marquise Kennedy or Keith Clemens, and like I hate the cliches, but the different guys, different nights is just so true for this team. And it was in 2018 and it is now. And so, I mean, as long as they stick to their game, don't be sloppy when they're sloppy, like it all goes downhill. But I genuinely, like, like I said, my family's big Mizzou fans. So Mizzou, Illinois was a fun matchup for us. Always is. And I said it, like, I truly believe that Illinois might have been the best team in the country heading into the tournament.
You have them
better than Gonzaga. What'd you say?
Did you have them in your bracket winning it all, or?
No, I think I had them in Gonzaga and Illinois in the final, and I had Gonzaga winning.
Okay.
But where I'm going with that is that if Loyola can be Illinois, arguably the best offensive or just team in the country, I don't know who can stop them at this point. Like, I look at Oregon State. I mean, no, the games are going to be competitive. I don't think Loyola blows out anyone. Who knows? I might be wrong, but I don't think that they blow out anyone. But, like, I look at Loyola's side of the bracket, and they've got a better chance than, like, over on the other side, like, because you think it's Oregon State now, and then if they win against Oregon State, it's Houston or Syracuse. I'm a little nervous about Syracuse. I did predict Syracuse getting to the Sweet 16, so I'm proud of this one.
Well done.
Syracuse scares me because they're on like a really hot streak, and like you never know. And that's the crazy thing about March Madness is you just never know. And I love that, but I hate that aspect of it. So I truly believe like they've got an easier shot at getting to the Final Four than some of the other regions. Like, I mean, Gonzaga, Baylor, and Michigan are all still on the other sides. But if you top the number 1 seed, like, I got a lot of respect for you. So who knows?
Yeah.
I hope to get the Baylor Loyola matchup. I want to see that one so bad. So I'm hoping for that.
That would be a lot of fun in the Final Four, and I was definitely at that Final Four game when they played Michigan in 2018. That was a lot of fun. It was unfortunate to kind of see that slip away, but hopefully they get another chance here. And Oregon State shut down another All-American in Cade Cunningham, so it's going to be a fight for sure.
It's going to be so fun.
Yeah. So just going back to the last weekend and after the Illinois game, they had the interviews. The post-game interviews, and you sent out a tweet that basically said that you weren't called upon to ask a question to the selected player or the coach in the Loyola press conference. And so I just wanted to, what kind of happened in the press conference? Was it really short? Was it, or were like people asking like multiple questions during their, when they were called upon? Like what happened there? And because the media really has no control on who's called, but I was just kind of curious about that.
Yeah. So I went to the press conference. Everyone was asking similar like, how are you feeling questions, and I was just like, okay, I love that we're asking these, but do every single person have to ask some form of the how are we feeling questions? There were great questions, don't get me wrong, but I was like, we're being a little repetitive here. So from that end, I was like, let me ask a question. I have a different question. And I also knew that like everyone would be asking those questions, all the questions you need for the game story.
Yeah.
And I was working on another story, and I wanted to ask something about that story because like we don't know press or media availability is limited. We don't know when we'll get Porter again. And so like I wanted to ask kind of like a separate question. And that's the biggest reason.
What story are you working on that?
So I'm working on a bunch of stories. So I was going to ask a question about fouls and Lucas and getting in foul trouble in the game.
Okay, yeah.
I've been keeping track of the fouls this year compared to previous years, and they've been getting a little spicy this year. So I've just been keeping track, and I just wanted to ask. It was pertinent to the game.
Yeah.
I could get a good quote out of it. And if someone else asked that one, I'm also working on a story about defense. And like, people are probably like, you didn't because there was a press conference today and I knew I'd only get one question. And it was more important for me to get the defense question. So I didn't ask the personal fouls question. But so that was my thing is I just wanted to ask about the fouls. Like, I get it. The bigger story is that they just topped the number 1 team. But we have this time. Everyone's going to ask the questions I need for my game story. I want to utilize this time when we have him, when we don't get him that often to ask that question. And so, I was frustrated because I was just like, every person that was called it was all the big guns, like everyone you think of: CBS, NBC, USA Today, The Athletic. I could go on, and I was just like, I was kind of frustrated because the Loyola Phoenix is the only organization who's covered every single game from day one. We have either sent someone or watched virtually, been to every press conference, literally between me, my co-editor Kyle, and our assistant editor Lou. Like, we have been to every single media availability, every single thing. So I was kind of frustrated. And I have some regrets that I'll talk about with how I handled the situation. But I just sent out a tweet, and I was just like, "Hey, NCAA, can we make sure like student reporters are being called upon?" Because in that moment, that's what it felt like to me. Yeah. It felt like I wasn't getting called on because I didn't have the name back to me. I didn't have Chicago Tribune or NBC, and that was frustrating because I was like, I've been here for 3 years covering this team. I've been at almost every single game, and I just felt like I deserved a question. And so I tweeted, and I was like, please, can we make sure? And like, notice in my original tweet, I did not tag the NCAA. Right. And that was like a purposeful thing. I remembered writing the tweet and being like, I'm not going to tag him because like I complain on Twitter every now and then, and it never goes anywhere. And so like I genuinely like tweeted it very offhandedly, just like, yeah, this sucks, frustrated. And then I got in my car because they kicked the media out, like, you know, so that they can clean. I got in my car, finished my game story, recorded an interview for a podcast, and then I started driving. So I didn't know what was going on with my tweet. I didn't think anything of it because, like I said, I tweet stuff like this every now and then, and it never garners any attention. And then I remember my friend called me, and he was like, Abby, you have over 1,000 likes. And I was like, what? And so, like, that just goes to show you that I wasn't expecting it because I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea. And by the time I got to Chicago, I was in the 4,000s. And, you know, I was exhausted. It was a long weekend. And so I went to bed. And then the next day, I decided to email the NCAA, where the regrets come in is I probably should have emailed them first. Emailed the NCAA or our SID. I should have. And I totally recognize that. But I'm happy I tweeted it out because it obviously resonated with a lot of people and it wasn't an isolated incident. So calling attention to it, I'm really proud of. Do I wish I would have handled it a little bit differently? Absolutely. But do I regret doing it? No. And like, that's been like, people have been asking me that because I've been getting a lot of support, but also a decent amount of hate about it. And so, yeah, I emailed the NCAA and they explained the situation. They were like, listen, like, I get how this is frustrating. We wish you would have came to us. And I'm like, fair. There were 60 people in the Zoom call, 25 people with their hand raised. And I get that. Like, I get that. There were a lot of people there. You only have 12 minutes for each press conference. And so, like, I get that there were time constraints, but I don't think it excuses it. Cause like, I've been talking to a handful of people like today, and like, there's some people that are like, this is just how it is. Like, they were trying to prioritize in-house people. And I'm like, okay, if we're prioritizing in-house people, I was in the house.
You're not in the right house.
What?
You're not in the right house.
Apparently not. And so I was getting really frustrated I've been frustrated with people trying to like excuse it. I don't know if it was a student journalism thing. And I recognize that. Like, it totally could have just been an oversight. But in the moment, it felt like I wasn't getting called upon because of my organization, because I didn't have the big names next to me. And so like, that was super frustrating. And I get it. I get they've got a lot going on. 60 people, 25 hands raised. I completely get it. But I feel like there should be a little bit of loyalty towards the people who have been covering them for longer. And like, I think back to most of these big names, they didn't start covering Loyola until they were ranked. And I'm just like, I was there before that. And I deserve a question. And I stand by that. People have tried that. That's just how it is. Professional journalists get first dibs. And I get that is how it is, but that's how it's not how it should be, is my take on it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very reasonable take, and that's really interesting that you kind of just tweeted that kind of offhand because correct me if I'm wrong, but same mindset, like, oh well, nobody's gonna look at this tweet except for like maybe a handful of folks, and then it blew up. Like I know you just said that kind of blows your mind, but I think that's worth focusing on. Like, did it surprise you that that blew up as much as it did? And I guess you said you got some love and hate for it. What are some examples, if you mind sharing, of like either support or encouragement that you've got from that, or keep it with support and encouragement, I guess.
I didn't expect it at all. I had no idea. Like, I know I have friends in student journalism that like have been slighted. I just knew my experience. I feel like it's fallen a little bit short. I get you only have 5 credentials, but it sucks because I have a co-editor. We are equals. We have covered the team together all year, and we have to switch off who gets the credential. Luckily enough, like our school is like paying for a ticket, and we still have our virtual credentials, so we'll still both be in the building, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
And so I was absolutely shocked by it. Had no idea. And then when I kept getting like notifications while I was driving, because I was on the phone, and I have an Apple Watch, and I'm driving in Indiana. You can't get on your phone. I'm from Missouri, so that was a joke towards Missouri because it's not illegal in Missouri to text on your phone. And so I knew I was getting notifications. I just thought they were like messages from like my paper, like, hey, just updates, because we had the people crowding the streets, the rallies. Yeah. And so I didn't know what was going on. And I think it was amazing though, because I did receive a lot more support than I did hate. I had multiple student journalists reaching out to me saying this happened to me too. Thank you for giving this a platform it deserved. I had a lot of professionals tweet about it. The director of SBJ like quoted my tweet. A bunch of senior writers at The Athletic, someone from Sports Illustrated, just a lot of big people, as well as so many students that were like, yes, this deserves to be called out. Excuse me. I think that was like the best part is like, and even when I get like these messages that are like, you need to understand that it was out of their control. There were so many people there. I'm just like, and I was actually called unprofessional for tweeting it, and that one really bothers me because maybe how I handled it was a little bit unprofessional, sure, but there's obviously an issue here. And I think this, my favorite support that I got was in the Missouri Valley. We have a lot of beat writers, like professional beat writers, and Loyola is actually the only school that doesn't have like a professional beat writer. Okay. Like we are the beat writers and us. But we have beat writer roundtables like weekly, and like we get to know each other, the professionals, and then like it's like me or like my co-editor Kyle in those, and seeing almost all of them. Some of them just haven't been on Twitter, which like just seeing them like reach out to me like, Abby, I'm so sorry this happened to you, like keep up what you're doing. And that was amazing. Like seeing them, these people who I've worked with, these people who know like how hard I have worked to get here. And then like I didn't use the hashtags, but I thought they were funny that there were a lot of Rambler fans specifically tweeting hashtag call on Abby, because like I think back to like, I mean, a lot of the time we are their go-to for some of those things. And so like a lot of Rambler fans were mad that we didn't get to ask questions because they come to us because they know that we're there win or lose, ranked or unranked. And I think that was my favorite, just seeing all the Rambler fans and then just the people I've worked with. Like that, it was just a really cool experience seeing how many people wanted to support me through that, and even more like getting the attention it deserved. Because like I said, while that is the way it is, that professionals get the first, tend to get priority, that's not how it should be. And so I'm really glad that I was able to give this issue a little bit of a platform. And I say I'm Twitter famous a little bit, not really. It was only like 5,000 tweets, but to me that was like huge. And so, you know, I'm grateful for everyone that was like tweeting at me saying, I'm with you. I get this. Like, it sucks. And I'm here for you. Let me know if you need anything. And that's just one of my favorite parts about social media. It's so beautiful that you can have things like that happen.
Yeah, it's very true, and it definitely it stuck out to me, obviously because a lot of people were tweeting it and talking about it, but just the message itself, I thought was very important. It's unfortunate, the times that we're living in today, but yeah, if you cover a team, for the whole season, and then it's tough to follow them when at the height, the peak of the season of what everybody's striving for. It's almost like you equate it to last season where 2020 gets canceled because of COVID, and you think about all the work that the players have put in, and they don't get to see it play out. It's kind of the same for journalists, whether you're professional or a student. You put in all the work following the team all year, and then you're not maybe treated as as the expert in favor of someone else. That has a fancier title or something like that. So
and I wanna thank like the NCAA for like responding to me. Like, it's still an issue, but the fact that they wanted to make it right, like, really spoke volumes. The fact that in their email to me they were like, we're going to make sure you're called upon. And then in the press conference today, I was called upon both for coach and the player. And they've been like, they've been so helpful in helping us, like, since this has happened. Like, it's been so responsive, and just honestly like great. And I hope I don't come across unappreciative in my tweets about that, because like I mean, it's still an issue, and I'm not going to sit down just because they said you can have your hand raised. But I am very grateful for their response to it, because they realized that it was not okay, and that it should be fixed. And so I appreciate that. And I since I'm here, I wanted to say that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I don't think it's coming across as ungrateful at all. It's it's important. Call out the issues and talk about it. And you know what, you have the press credentials, so you'll be back in Indianapolis. So just that's a in today's environment, that's a big win. So you got to take the little victories here and there and continue to move forward. But obviously, you're doing great work, and you've written many great articles about the Ramblers at Loyola Phoenix. So very, very informative, very good. You mentioned you have a few projects in the fire. What's give me one article that you've already done that you've enjoyed the most working on, and one to maybe look forward to in the days ahead.
So I last week wrote about Jacob Hudson, who is the freshman center who comes in for Cameron when he needs a breather. Absolutely, I love Jacob Hudson and his family. That's probably been like one of my favorite articles I've written this year. That, or I wrote an article on Porter's starting seven. There's 7 guys who he calls the starting 7. And so those were probably 2 of my favorites that I have done recently. And then coming out like in the next couple days, I'll have one on the best defense in the country. And then also I chatted with 2018 star Dante Ingram, because his mantra of "we ain't going" from 2018 has kind of carried into this. And so I'm kind of doing a little thing on how that started and how it's turned into what it is.
Got it. So a little full circle, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's excellent. And Abby, thank you so much for joining the Minor Lounge. Again, Abby Schnable, a sports editor for the Loyola Phoenix at the University of Loyola at Chicago. Abby, where can everybody find you on social media and your great work?
I am at Abby Schnable, and then if you want to follow our sports account, we tweet all of our stories from there as well. It's at LU Phoenix Sports.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, and enjoy the Sweet 16. Good luck to the Ramblers, and hopefully they can make a run. Hopefully they can match up with Baylor in the Final Four. That'd be great.
Heck yeah, I love it. Thanks for having me.
Of course.